विद्यार्थी मित्रांनो, वनस्पतींच्या वाढीसाठी नायट्रोजन, फॉस्फरस व पोटॅशियम या घटकांची आवश्यकता असते हे आपल्याला माहित आहे. परंतु ज्या जमिनीमध्ये नायट्रोजनची कमतरता असते अशा ठिकाणी वाढणाऱ्या काही वनस्पती जसे की घटपर्णी, व्हीनस फ्लायट्रॅप, ड्रासेरा या कीटकांचे भक्षण करून स्वतःची नायट्रोजनची गरज भागवत असतात. अशा वनस्पतींमध्ये कीटकांना आकर्षित करण्यासाठी व ते पकडून ठेवण्यासाठी पाने किंवा फुलांच्या मध्ये विशिष्ट प्रकारचे अनुकूलन झालेले असते. आहोत व्हीनस फ्लायट्रॅप ही जी कीटकभक्षी वनस्पती आहे ती कशा पद्धतीने कीटक पकडून ठेवते आणि त्या कीटकाचं भक्षण करते हे आपण एका व्हिडिओ मधून पाहणार आहोत.
The Venus flytrap. Like the sundew, it makes itself very attractive, oozing nectar across the brim of each leaf. But any visiting insect had better watch out for these 6 tiny hairs. This fly has to tread carefully. If it strikes one hair, it can carry on feeding, but a timer has been set. A second strike in less than 20 seconds and the fly is doomed. An electrical impulse is triggered and the leaf snaps shut in just a fraction of a second. The tips lock together like prison bars. If the fly is very big or very small, it may just manage to escape. But most are trapped and die. Ten days later, the trap reopens. All that remains is a husk. The plant has finished its meal and resets itself for its next victim.
नंतर आपण पाहणार आहोत आणखी एक कीटकभक्षी वनस्पती, तिचं नाव आहे घटपर्णी. घटपर्णी या वनस्पतीमध्ये एक विशिष्ट प्रकारचे अनुकूलन झालेले असते आणि या घटपर्णी वनस्पतीच्या नावामध्येच घटपर्णी म्हणजे घटासारखा किंवा मडक्यासारखा थोडासा आकार असणार असं हे रोपटे असतं आणि याच्यावरती एक असं पान झाकलेलं असतं त्याच्या घटावरती आणि ज्यावेळी कीटक आत पडतो त्यावेळेला हे पान कसं झाकलं जातं आणि कीटकांना आकर्षित करण्यासाठी त्याच्यामध्ये कशा पद्धतीचं अनुकूलन झालेलं असतं हे आपण व्हिडिओ मधून पाहणार आहोत. तर आणखी एक कीटकभक्षी वनस्पती आपण पाहणार आहोत आणि त्या वनस्पतीचं नाव आहे ड्रासेरा बर्माणी। पहा तर काही वनस्पती कीटकभक्षण करून त्यांच्या शरीरापासून अन्न घटक मिळवतात, हे आपण मागील इयत्तेमध्ये अभ्यासलेलं आहे। आणि या वनस्पती प्रामुख्याने नायट्रोजन संयुगाचा अभाव असणाऱ्या जमिनीमध्ये किंवा पाण्यात वाढतात। ड्रासेरा बर्माणी या कीटकभक्षी वनस्पतीची रचना एखाद्या फुलासारखी असते आणि ती जमिनीलगतच वाढते। तिची पाने आकर्षक गुलाबी लाल रंगाची असतात आणि त्यांच्या कडांना बारीक असे केसासारखे तंतू असतात आणि त्यावर कीटकांना आकर्षित करण्यासारखा एक चिकट पदार्थ असतो किंवा चिकट द्रवाचे बिंदू असतात। इसवी सन 1737 मध्ये श्रीलंकेत जोहान्स बर्मन या शास्त्रज्ञाने या वनस्पतीचा शोध लावला आणि त्यांच्या सन्मानाप्रित्यर्थ या वनस्पतीचे नाव बर्माणी असे ठेवण्यात आले आहे। पाहूया तर मग आपण ड्रासेरा बर्माणी म्हणजेच या वनस्पतीला दुसरं नाव आहे दवबिंदू। ही वनस्पती कशी असते हे आपण पाहूया। विद्यार्थी मित्रांनो, आता आपण हिम प्रदेशातील वनस्पतींमध्ये झालेलं अनुकूलन पाहणार आहोत। हिम प्रदेशामधील वनस्पतींमध्ये प्रामुख्याने देवदार, पाईन अशा सूचीपर्णी वृक्षांचा समावेश होतो। त्यांचा आकार शंकूसारखा असतो, फांद्यांची रचना उतरती असते आणि या प्रदेशांमध्ये खूप हिमवृष्टी होते, तसेच थंडीही खूप असते। शंकूच्या आकारामुळे या वनस्पतींवर बर्फ साचून राहत नाही, तसेच त्यांच्या जाड सालींमुळे त्या थंडीतही तग धरू शकतात। प्रदेशातील वनस्पतींमध्ये झालेले अनुकूलन पहा। या प्रदेशामध्ये वृक्ष, झुडूप, रोपटे असे विविध प्रकार पाहायला मिळतात। सूर्याचा प्रकाश मिळवण्यासाठी या सर्वच वनस्पतींमध्ये स्पर्धा लागलेली असते। जंगलात सूर्यप्रकाश मिळवण्यासाठी वृक्ष खूप उंच वाढतात, तसेच त्यांच्या आधाराने वेलीही उंच वाढत असतात। झुडपे व गवताचे विविध प्रकार पाहायला मिळतात आणि हे गवत तंतुमय मुळांच्यामुळे जमिनीची धूप थांबवत असतं. आपल्या पृथ्वीवरती खूप मोठमोठे गवताळ प्रदेश आहेत आणि त्यातील एक गवताळ प्रदेश आपण या व्हिडिओ मधून पाहूया.
The vast open country of the tropics. A patchwork of trees and shrubs on a bed of grass. A place of deluge and drought. It dominates the continent at the center of our world, and of all the world's habitats, this one supports the Earth's most famous wildlife. This is the home of the safari. This is the savanna. The tropics of our planet have two habitats that are instantly recognizable to us. The first of these we have already covered, the tropical rainforest. The other, much drier one, is that of the tropical savanna. Spreading out over vast plains across 3 continents, the savannas of the tropics make up for any lack of biodiversity compared to their richer rainforest cousin in sheer quantity of large mammalian wildlife, feeding on the endless grass and on the animals that eat that grass. When many of you think of savanna, you probably think of the vast, uninterrupted plains of grass such as the Serengeti, so often shown on our TV screens in wildlife documentaries. But savanna is in fact a mix of trees, shrubs and grasses. Annually, between wet seasons, conditions of severe drought limit forest development, widening the gap between trees and allowing plenty of light to reach the ground. This leads to thickets of shrubs or extensive grass cover to fill in the gaps. And as in the adjoining tropical seasonal forests, trees here survive the dry season by dropping their leaves. Between the verdant rainforests of the tropics and the parched hot deserts of the subtropics. They don't suddenly begin or end, but rather merge into the tropical forests on the wetter side and into scrubland on the drier side. The amount of tree canopy cover percentages that determines whether the land can be referred to savanna is subjective and can be anywhere between 5 and 80%. With such dry seasons in these parts, it's no surprise to find brush fires here. In fact, all the plant species have evolved to survive regular fires in various ways. Such is the effect of fire that it is believed that many of the world's savanna regions have developed as a result of human fire activity over many thousands of years, whereas without this, tropical forests would have been present. So where in the world do we find savanna? Well, if we apply the strict definition of a natural mix of trees, shrubs and grass, then they can occur in temperate and subtropical latitudes as well as the tropics. But these areas are relatively small compared to the tropical savanna that dominates the tropics in South America, Australia, and above all, Africa. I'll mention a bit more about these other areas in future episodes. But for now, we'll continue our focus on the tropics. Region by region, then, savannas are found in the Americas, in isolated strips in southern Mexico, some Caribbean islands, in particular Cuba, and in southern Florida, where in fact the Everglades are a flooded form of savanna. South America has more extensive savannas, including most of the central part of Venezuela, while central Brazil has vast areas of broken woodland in what is known as the Cerrado. The Brazilian savanna is the most biodiverse in the world, with an estimated 800 tree species alone. Skipping over to Australia, and we find extensive parts of the outback in the form of broken woodland, shrubland and grassland that meets the savanna definition, as a wide transition zone spreading across the north and east of the island continent, between the coastal forests and the parched desert interior. Species transition gradually from tropical varieties in the north to more temperate forms in the south in the area shown on this map. And last but not least, we come to Africa, the place that comes to mind with most of us when we hear the word savanna. This continent is dominated by this biome, extending in a wide band across West Africa through to Ethiopia in the northeast. This band follows tight lines of latitude, classically representing the transition between the equatorial forests to the south and the vast Sahara Desert to the north. In East Africa, the presence of wide plateau across the equator leads to dry conditions and the formation of the most famous of all savannas, the Masai Mara of Kenya and Serengeti of Tanzania. South of the equator, and these savannas spread out around the south of the Congo rainforest to cover southern Africa from coast to coast, with only the deserts of the southwest being exempt. The wet and dry seasons across these regions extend also into Madagascar and in more arid regions. Dare we mention fauna? Although this series is about the botany across Earth, no mention of the savanna can go without its greatest claim to fame, that of huge volumes of large mammalian species found in particular in that continent of the safari, Africa. The presence of extensive grasslands provide feeding grounds for vast herds of elephants, rhinos, giraffes, wildebeest, zebras, buffalo and antelope. And with such herds, predators follow in the form of lions, cheetahs, hyenas, African wild dogs, and so on. Nowhere else on Earth do we find such a rich quantity of large animals, and this, more than anything, is perhaps the savanna's greatest gift. And that is the savanna. I hope you enjoyed my presentation of this unique biome. If you did, please like and share.